Welcome to Hidden Coin Digest, where ordinary pocket change reveals extraordinary treasures. Before you spend another quarter, I want you to stop for just a moment and do something that millions of people never do. Reach into your pocket, your wallet, or that old jar filled with loose change sitting somewhere in your home. Pick up the first quarter you find and look at it carefully. Now ask yourself one simple question. What if this ordinary-looking quarter isn't worth just 25 cents? What if it could be worth hundreds of dollars, thousands, or even become one of the most exciting discoveries you've ever made? It may sound unbelievable, but every year collectors across the United States discover valuable coins hiding in everyday pocket change. Some have been found inside forgotten piggy banks. Others were discovered in old family collections passed down through generations. A few were even pulled straight from bank rolls that looked completely ordinary. The most exciting part is that many people unknowingly spend these valuable coins every single day because they simply don't know what to look for. Today's story begins with one of the most fascinating quarters of the early 1970s, the 1970 to Washington quarter. At first glance, there's absolutely nothing unusual about it. Millions were produced. Millions entered circulation. Millions were spent buying groceries, paying parking meters, purchasing gasoline, and making everyday transactions across America. To the average person, it was just another quarter. But collectors rarely judge a coin by its first impression. Instead, they ask important questions. Was this coin struck differently? Did it escape the mint with a rare error? Has it survived in extraordinary condition? Could it be hiding a feature that most people never notice? Those questions have transformed certain 1970 to Washington quarters into coins that collectors continue searching for more than 50 years later. The year 1972 was an important time in American history. The country was changing rapidly, yet one thing remained constant: millions of Washington quarters continued flowing through banks, businesses, restaurants, movie theaters, and cash registers every single day. Hardly anyone imagined these ordinary coins would one day become objects of serious collector interest. Back then, people carried handfuls of quarters without paying attention to dates. Children spent them on arcade games. Drivers dropped them into parking meters. Families used them for laundromats and vending machines. No one stopped to inspect the tiny details. That is exactly why beautifully preserved examples have become increasingly difficult to find today. Think about what happens to a coin during 50 years of circulation. It slides across countertops, falls onto sidewalks, rubs against keys, gets dropped into cash drawers, travels through thousands of different hands. Every tiny impact leaves another mark, slowly. The original mint luster fades. The sharp details begin disappearing. George Washington's portrait becomes smoother. The eagle on the reverse loses fine feather details. Eventually, the coin looks like every other worn quarter. That happened to millions of 1970 quarters. Only a very small percentage escaped decades of heavy circulation. Those survivors are exactly what collectors hope to find today. Professional grading companies examine these coins under powerful lights and magnification. Every tiny detail matters. The strike, the luster, the surfaces, the rim. Even the smallest contact mark can influence the final grade. Imagine two identical 1972 quarters leaving the mint on the same day. One immediately enters circulation. The other is placed inside a collector's album and forgotten for decades. 50 years later, those two coins tell completely different stories. One is heavily worn. The other still shines almost exactly as it did on the day it was struck. Although both began life together, their values today could be dramatically different. That's one of the greatest lessons in coin collecting. Condition changes everything. Collectors often say they aren't simply buying metal. They're buying preservation. They're buying history frozen in time. But exceptional condition isn't the only reason collectors search for 1970 quarters. The real excitement begins when mint errors enter the picture. Inside the United States Mint, enormous presses struck thousands of coins every hour. The process was fast, precise, highly efficient. Yet, like every manufacturing system, it wasn't perfect. Sometimes a die developed tiny cracks after striking hundreds of thousands of coins. Sometimes grease temporarily filled part of the engraved design. Occasionally, a blank planchet entered the striking chamber slightly out of position. Every once in a while, something unexpected happened. Instead of producing another ordinary quarter, the mint accidentally created something unique. Those unexpected mistakes became hidden treasures. Many escaped into circulation completely unnoticed. For decades, they passed from one pocket to another without anyone realizing their importance. Today, collectors search for those same mistakes with incredible patience. One of the first things experienced collectors examine is the lettering. Look carefully at the word liberty, study the date 1972, inspect the words "In God We Trust." Every letter should appear sharp and clearly defined. Any unusual doubling, distortion, or weakness deserves closer examination. True double dies are especially fascinating because the error begins during the creation of the die itself. That means every coin struck from that die carries the exact same unusual characteristics. Discovering one is exciting because it connects the coin directly to a specific moment during the mint's production process. Collectors also inspect the rim. A complete, well-formed rim usually indicates a normal strike. But if part of the design appears shifted toward one side, it could suggest an off-center strike. These dramatic mint errors immediately attract attention because they're easy to recognize. Some off-center strikes are minor. Others leave large blank areas while still showing the complete date. The more dramatic the error, the more excitement it often creates among collectors. And believe it or not, this is only the beginning of the story behind the remarkable 1970 to Washington quarter. The next discoveries become even more surprising. Most people believe that if a coin is valuable, it must look dramatically different from every other coin. In reality, that couldn't be further from the truth. Some of the most desirable 1970 to Washington quarters appear completely ordinary until they're examined carefully under proper lighting and magnification. That is exactly why experienced collectors never rush. Every coin deserves a closer look. One of the first things professionals notice is the quality of the strike. During production, tremendous pressure forced the design into each blank planchet. Ideally, every detail would appear sharp and complete. But after minting thousands upon thousands of coins, the dies gradually began wearing down. As the dies aged, tiny differences appeared. Some coins displayed softer lettering. Others showed weaker details on Washington's hair. The eagle on the reverse sometimes lost the crisp appearance seen on freshly struck examples. To the average person, these differences seem unimportant. To a collector, they tell the story of the die itself. Every stage of wear becomes another clue in understanding how that particular coin was produced. Another fascinating feature collectors search for is the presence of die cracks. Imagine repeatedly striking a piece of hardened steel with enormous pressure every single second. Eventually, tiny fractures begin forming. When those cracks develop inside the die, every coin struck afterward carries the same raised lines. These aren't scratches. They aren't damage. They're part of the coin's original production history. Some die cracks remain so small that only magnification reveals them. Others continue growing until they stretch across large portions of the design. Collectors often compare multiple examples from the same die state, documenting how the cracks slowly expanded over time. Each stage tells another chapter in the life of the die. Then there are filled die errors. This unusual error happens when grease temporarily fills part of the engraved design inside the die. Instead of transferring every detail perfectly, certain letters or numbers appear weak, incomplete, or even missing. Many people mistake these coins for worn examples. Experienced collectors immediately recognize that something very different may have happened during striking. A genuine filled die error represents a brief interruption inside the mint itself. Only a limited number of coins are usually struck before the obstruction disappears and normal production resumes. That makes these coins especially interesting. Weight is another clue professionals never ignore. A normal-clad Washington quarter should weigh approximately 5.67 grams. Collectors frequently carry small digital scales while searching through large quantities of coins. If one coin weighs noticeably more or less than expected, it immediately deserves further examination. Although unusual weight can sometimes result from damage after leaving the mint, it may also indicate a significant minting error that requires professional authentication. Another important habit is comparing coins side by side. Instead of examining only one 1970 to quarter, experienced collectors place several examples next to each other under bright light. Suddenly, small differences become obvious. One coin reflects light more brilliantly. Another has a noticeably stronger strike. One shows tiny die cracks while another does not. These comparisons train the eye. The more coins someone studies, the easier it becomes to recognize when something unusual appears. That experience cannot be learned overnight. It develops one coin at a time, one discovery at a time, one lesson after another. Now imagine searching through an old family collection that hasn't been opened in decades. Inside an aging cardboard coin album sits a row of Washington quarters from the early 1970s. Most show ordinary circulation wear. Then one coin immediately catches your attention. Its surfaces still shimmer beneath the light. Washington's portrait appears remarkably sharp. The lettering remains bold. Even the smallest details seem unusually crisp. At first you wonder if your eyes are playing tricks on you. So you compare it with another 1970 quarter from the same album. The difference is obvious. One coin has spent decades protected from the outside world. The other clearly circulated for years. That single comparison completely changes your understanding of condition. Collectors often say that original mint luster is something photographs can never fully capture. When a beautifully preserved quarter is tilted beneath bright light, the surface seems almost alive. Bands of light move smoothly across the coin in what specialists call the cartwheel effect. Once that original surface disappears through wear or cleaning, it can never truly be restored. That is exactly why collectors value originality above almost everything else. Unfortunately, many beginners make one costly mistake. They clean their coins. The idea seems logical. A shiny coin should be worth more. But in coin collecting, the opposite is usually true. Cleaning removes microscopic layers of the original surface forever. Professional graders recognize cleaned coins almost instantly. Instead of increasing value, cleaning often reduces it significantly. The safest decision is always to leave the coin exactly as it was found. Hold it only by the edges. Store it safely. And if you believe it may be something special, allow professionals to evaluate it before making any changes. Because sometimes, the smallest decision can make the biggest difference. And for the 1970 to Washington quarter, the most exciting discoveries are still waiting to be uncovered, asterisk. And for the 1970 to Washington quarter, the most exciting discoveries are still waiting to be uncovered. Every year, collectors continue searching through thousands of quarters with the hope of finding that one extraordinary coin. Most searches end with ordinary pocket change, but every experienced collector understands that remarkable discoveries are never guaranteed. They happen when preparation meets opportunity. Imagine visiting your local bank and asking for several rolls of quarters. To everyone else, they're simply rolls filled with 25-cent coins. But to a collector, every unopened roll is a mystery waiting to be solved. One by one, the quarters are removed and placed beneath a bright light. Most look completely ordinary, some show decades of wear. Others have scratches from years of circulation. Then suddenly, one coin catches your attention. Its surfaces reflect light differently. The strike appears unusually strong. Washington's portrait is noticeably sharper than the others. The lettering seems crisp and bold. You compare it with another 1970 quarter, then another. The differences become impossible to ignore. At that moment, what seemed like an ordinary afternoon turns into an exciting investigation. You begin checking every detail. The date, the mint mark. The rim. The edge, the weight. Every feature tells part of the coin story. This is exactly what makes coin collecting so exciting. You never know when the next discovery will happen. Many collectors say the greatest reward isn't selling a valuable coin. It's finding one yourself. The excitement of recognizing something unusual before anyone else is a feeling that keeps collectors searching for years. Knowledge becomes your greatest advantage. The more coins you examine, the more your eyes begin noticing details that most people never see. That is why experienced collectors rarely hurry. Patience is one of the most valuable tools in the hobby. Another important lesson is never to judge a coin only by its age. Many people believe every old coin must automatically be valuable. That simply isn't true. Millions of older coins remain common because so many survived. At the same time, certain modern coins have become surprisingly valuable because very few high-quality examples still exist. Condition. Rarity. Collector demand. Historical significance. These factors work together to determine value. Age alone tells only part of the story. The 1970 to Washington quarter is a perfect example. Millions were minted. Millions circulated. Yet only a small number survived in outstanding condition or with genuine mint errors that collectors actively search for today. Those coins continue attracting attention whenever they appear at major auctions or inside important collections. Sometimes they remain hidden for decades before finally being discovered. Imagine opening a small wooden box that belonged to your grandfather. Inside are several old coins wrapped in paper envelopes. One envelope simply reads quarters. You open it and pour the coins onto the table. Most are ordinary. Then one brilliant 1970 to quarter immediately stands out. It has remained protected for more than 50 years. No heavy wear. No polishing. No cleaning. Only beautiful original surfaces preserved through time. Moments like these remind us that remarkable discoveries still happen. Not every treasure comes from a museum. Not every valuable coin comes from an auction house. Sometimes the greatest discoveries begin at home, a forgotten drawer. An old coin album. A family collection passed from one generation to another. Before spending any 1970 to Washington quarter, take a few extra seconds to examine it carefully. Look at the date. Check the mint mark. Study the strike. Inspect the lettering. Observe the edge. Compare it with another coin from the same year if possible. Those simple steps could help you notice something that thousands of people have overlooked, whether your coin turns out to be an ordinary example or a remarkable discovery. Every search teaches something new. Every coin carries a story, every collector gains experience, and every careful inspection brings you one step closer to finding that unforgettable piece of American history. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the fascinating world of the 1970 to Washington quarter. Hopefully, the next time you receive a quarter in your change, you'll pause for just a moment before spending it, because hidden treasures don't always shine brighter than ordinary coins. Sometimes they look exactly the same until someone takes a closer look. If you enjoyed this video and want to discover more rare quarters, valuable mint errors, incredible auction stories, and hidden treasures from everyday pocket change, be sure to subscribe to Hidden Coin Digest, turn on notifications, and join thousands of collectors who never underestimate the coins in their pockets. Until next time, keep searching. Keep learning, and remember. Asterisk.